Jarvis, what's the meaning of life?
Life, noun, the condition that distinguishes animals and plants from inorganic matter, including the capacity for growth, reproduction, functional activity, and continual change preceding death. Also, 42.
For this project, you will need a Raspberry Pi 3 B+ or 4, its charger, a micro SD card, a speaker, a microphone, a mouse and keyboard, and a monitor to connect the Pi to. To install the MagicMirror software, you first want to put the SD card into your laptop. Then using an SD card formatter, you want to clear the SD card. Once that is completed, you want to go to the Raspberry Pi website and download the Raspberry Pi Imager to install Raspberry Pi OS and write it onto your SD card. You can then eject the SD card and put it into your Raspberry Pi and connect it to a monitor, speaker, and microphone. Following the on-screen instructions, finish setting up the Raspberry Pi. Next, to install the MagicMirror software, type the following commands into the Raspberry Pi terminal. After installing the Node.js and cloning the MagicMirror software, we can finally install it. This step normally takes a while, around 20 to 30 minutes. After installation, you can test it by typing in npm run start. Now we can move on to set up Google Assistant. First, we will install the Google Assistant module. Say yes to all the prompts. Make sure to remember your mic config for later. Now, using your Raspberry Pi browser, go to Actions Console Google and sign into your Google account. Create a new project. After creating a new project, go to your Google Cloud Platform and select the project you just created. Then go to the API library and search for Google Assistant. You should then enable that. You should then go back to your console and register your device. Make sure to select TV for your device type and download your credentials. Once your device is registered, go back to your Google Cloud Platform and go to the Auth Consent screen on your API and services. Choose External for your user type and create the new consent. Follow the prompts and enter your email. Make sure to publish your app after too. Now rename the file you just downloaded to credentials.json and move the file to the Google Assistant folder. Click Allow for all the options and copy and paste the code. If everything worked well, then you should have a new token.json file into your Google Assistant folder. Now we can add the MMM-Google Assistant to our config code in MagicMirror. And since we are working on the config file right now, I will also show you how to get the weather forecast into your MagicMirror. So first you have to go to Open Weather Map and create an account. Since I have an account, I'm going to sign in. And then you should create an API key, which you can then copy and paste into your app ID in your config file. Then search up your city and click on it, and then the number at the top of your URL, copy and paste that to your location ID. And do that for both the weather forecast and the current weather. You'll notice that my app ID is actually run right now, which I change later. You don't have to delete some of the modules I deleted. It's a lot of personal preference, so you can delete or keep any of the modules you like or do not like. Now we will move on to install the MMM Assistant to Display module, which is an extension for the Google Assistant and allows you to play YouTube videos as well as display the links searched by the Google Assistant. Once the installation is done, you want to add that to your config file as well. You also want to first add the electron options under the var config first. Also make sure you change the settings under A2D server to true for both use A2D and use YouTube under the Google Assistant module config. And then copy paste the Assistant to Display config into the config file as well. And since the recent update, the Google Assistant API doesn't allow you to call for YouTube anymore, so we need to enable the YouTube Data API on your Google Cloud platform. Then type in node auth youtube.js under your Google Assistant folder and authorize everything and paste your code. Here I'm just changing the location of the Google Assistant module. Now everything should work and we can test it. Jarvis, what time is it?
1:30 p.m.
Technically everything is done now, but I'm just going to go ahead and finish it up with some final touches and set up AutoStart. Since I know my mirror is portrait mode, I'm going to go ahead and rotate my display. Now I'll move on and set up AutoStart using PM2. Now all you have to do is reboot the Pi for the changes to be made. Now that the software is done, you can connect it to your frame or leave it as it is. Here is what it should look like when it is booted up. It should then automatically start MagicMirror.
Good afternoon, Peanut Moose. The time is 1:42 p.m. Have a wonderful day. Sorry, news playback isn't supported on this device yet.
Jarvis, who is Yoda?
According to Star Wars database, Yoda was a legendary Jedi Master and stronger than most in his connection with the Force.
Jarvis, YouTube, Michael Jackson Thriller. For copyright reasons, I muted the sound, but it works perfectly fine. However, if it doesn't, then you should change the sound config.